Hello there, and welcome back to another episode on the Faith First Leader with your host, Susan Fleming, and I am Sabrina Hammonds. If you are just joining us for the first time, I just want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. We invite you into the conversation, invite you to comment, to share your thoughts. This is a safe place. We welcome your feedback and your thoughts and what is God speaking to you and saying to you in this hour. So we have been talking about the topic of being versus doing. And there's so much that really that entails. There's so many layers and things that we could even just share and talk about as it relates to being versus doing. This week, we are talking about our motivations behind what we do, or why do we do what we do? What is the motivation? And I feel like there's a lot to that as well. That, but really, I would just hope that it would spark something within you as you're listening to stop and really think about your own motivations for why you do what you do. And I even think about the time that we spend with the Lord every day and how my motivation for doing that has changed, and it continues, I feel, to evolve from that place of this is what I do because I know it's good for me and I know that I should be doing this, to really it's something that I enjoy, and I don't feel that obligation to read the word like I used to. So I feel like that's been one big thing when it comes to motivations in my own life, that honestly, just sharing that, before I felt a lot of just like shame and a lot of guilt around that. Like, I shouldn't feel this way. Like, why does it feel so, like, such a heaviness around it? And just like, I'm reading the Bible because I know this is what I'm supposed to do, but it's not really the thing that I want to do. And I don't know how many, like that's hard to say, that hard to admit, especially to other believers who, I'm thinking in my mind, this can't be how they feel, and what are they going to think, by me sharing that? So
Yeah. Well, we appreciate your vulnerability and because I think it's really going to help a lot of people, because I think there are so many Christians who feel that same way and are too afraid to say it out loud. I know I've definitely, absolutely felt that it was something to check off the list. Okay, check, did that. Good job, Susan.
yeah.
Like it was just a thing to do. And even like you're saying, the thing we're supposed to do or should do. And there are so many shoulds in what you said,
Yeah.
so many shoulds that we put on ourselves, right? God isn't putting that on us. There's nowhere in scripture. Well, I say that. Hang on. Is it? Hang on a second. Let me take that back because I thought of something immediately. There is in scripture where you spend time with the Lord, right? There are
Yes.
verses about that. But again, it talks about it from the place of motive, right? Why are you doing the thing? Why are you spending time with him? Is it a should? Is it a thing to check off the list? Is it something that you think, well, if I do this, then God is going to do something for me? Like what's behind wanting to spend time with him? And as we were talking about the being versus doing, when you're in that place of being, the shoulds are gone, right? It's just a enjoyment of, this is my father. This is who I want to spend time with. It's a completely different mindset, but also feeling. It feels very different. And I even just had the scripture come to mind about tithing, right? Where he talks about don't tithe begrudgingly. And I think about like how many of us are sitting down to do our quiet times begrudgingly. How many of us are, going to work in the morning begrudgingly? All the things that we do throughout the day, are they shoulds? Are they have tos? Are they things that you really just don't desire to do?
Yeah.
Right. So diving into that today, I think it's going to be just really helpful for a lot of people to hear some different perspectives. We're not coming at this from a place of condemnation. This is not to say shame on you. Not at all, because we've both been there, right? There's still some days I would say maybe we're there, or even moments, right? Sometimes it's just a moment and I'll catch myself and be like, no, it's not a have to, it's a get to, right? And that can be different things, like if you're running the kids around or whatever, shifting perspective into I get to drive my children. Yes. Versus, oh, I got to take so and so over here and then take so and so over there and da 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 da. And you're in the busy and in the doing, right? And so coming back into that place of I get to be a parent. I have the privilege of stewarding the children God has given to me.
Yeah.
And that feels very different than all the So, yeah.
Yeah. And that just this morning, that reminds me, just this morning, I was doing something in the kitchen and I found myself frustrated in the moment for the thing that I was having to do in the kitchen. And I heard the Lord say, wait a minute, this is something that you get to do. You get to serve in this way. Yeah. And right then I was like, Lord, forgive me. Like, you're right. You're right. This is something that I get to do. I mean, because and sometimes, man, have felt really convicted for a crummy attitude, because the Lord will remind me of the fact that I get to stay home and I no longer work outside the home. And this is actually the very thing that I prayed for and asked God to open a door for me to come home. And then I can still remember just some things, like I had all these expectations and I had this picture in my head of what it was going to look like. And then I went through this period of time where I just felt so guilty for feeling some kind of way about being at home. Like, this is not at all what I thought it was going to be. And so, like, I feel like the Lord and I just walked through that in the beginning, because there were so many things that came up. But like, even this morning, something like that was frustrating me, and God just brings me back to that place and to remind me, like, wait a minute, this is what you get to do. And it is about that perspective and just remembering that.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk specifically work-related things. What are some of the differences you've seen going from the being and the doing, and just within your workspace and kind of your rhythm throughout the day? What do you notice different when you start off with being versus starting with the doing?
Honestly, I have found that I can even have joy in the things that I do not enjoy doing. Like, does that even make sense? Like as I'm saying that, I'm like, wait a minute. But it's the
Mm,
fact that recognize, like, when we're in business, there's not like we don't know everything, right? And there's
right.
parts of our business that just light us up, like we're just on fire because we get to do this. But then there's
Hmm.
other parts that we're just like, oh, if I could just hire someone. But I really think that just the more that I've been able to do this and steward this business and understand the being and practice those things every day, like practice that place of remembering like who I am and that God is pleased with me before I've made a sale.
Mm,
you know,
yes.
shift has opened up this other arena
Mm,
or this other place where I can even find enjoyment in those tasks that maybe I would have just, I'm just
hmm.
going to plow through this because it's all part of the business that I am excited to be able
Yeah.
to show up and do the things. Um and honestly, even in those calls where they didn't say yes, like where it's not a yes and we're not going to partner,
Hmm.
I have felt a shift to where I can get off of that call and not feel defeated, like there was
Mm,
something that I did wrong, or automatically my brain going to my bank account
yes.
because, or even on the call, sometimes trying to, like, I'm trying so hard.
Hmm.
How can I,
Yeah.
how can I set this call up and really just overthinking it and getting nervous throughout the call
Yeah.
because I want them to say yes. Like all of it really coming from the fear of having to make money.
Mm,
And then couple that with this is the business God has given me. So if they don't say yes, like is he going to be disappointed because I wonder, did I do something wrong?
yeah. Oh,
But
wow. Yeah.
it's almost like when I get on these calls now, it's not the same. Like it's just I prepare differently.
Hmm.
I'm like, God, whatever you have for this moment, let me be present and
Mm,
serve them in whatever way that you would have, even if it's not like we don't end up working together, whatever you would have. Like,
yeah.
I just want to not come into it from a place of pressure, but just let me just be whoever you want me to be on this
Yeah.
call. And it's like, it's so different.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so different.
I remember doing the calls and feeling such a desperation of this has to be a yes. I need this money. If I don't get that, like I was willing to do anything. Like even if it was stuff like if they come up with like, it's too much money, well, I can drop that price for you. Like, like just immediately I had a solution, whatever their objection was, I was getting a yes. And I would work myself into, oh, I don't even know how to describe it. Just that feeling of desperation of I need this so badly, which wasn't even reality, right? Not even true. Not even true. Like if somebody had looked at my bank account, they would have been like, "What are you stressed about? Like you don't need this client." But to me, it felt like a need because I was getting my worth from what I was doing. I wasn't allowing God to be that thing that met all the needs. I didn't yet know him at that point as I am. And so I was coming at it from this place of lack of like, I need the client, I need the money, as if saying I don't have those things, of saying I'm lacking something in some way. And it felt so just desperate.
Yeah.
And the people on the other end of that phone had to be feeling my my desperation, my
Yeah.
anxiety, my stress, and they're probably like, "Oh, no. I don't want to work with her." Um, but I would do anything to get that yes. And then I immediately regret it, because if you have to force somebody into doing it, then they're not ready. They're not ready to do the work. Right.
Mhm.
So then the person that I would get through that convincing them of the yes would then be the person that I had to continue hand holding through the whole process, continue convincing this is the thing you need to do. And this is the homework. And this is like it became so much more work for me on the other end,
Yeah.
because I was continually having to get that yes. Whereas now I'm like you said, when I go into the call, I'm like, Lord, my mouth is yours. Speak what you want to speak. How can I serve this person? Whatever's needed in the moment. I mean, it's just, there's no attachment to whatever comes after. If it's a
Yeah.
yes, if it's a no, if it's a I'll talk to you later, whatever, like whatever. I'm just, it is what it is. And it's not an emotional detachment in the sense of, well, I'm just putting up walls and I'm saying it doesn't matter. So I'm not setting expectations so I don't feel disappointed. It's not that at all. It's such a peace and trust. God's got this.
Yeah.
Like the outcome is already determined. So it doesn't matter what I do or don't do. I'm just going to show up. I'm going to serve. I'm going to be me. And that's all I can do. And then he does what he does, and that other person has free will to choose and do what they do. And it's not about me. None of it is about me. And it's a completely, oh gosh, completely different night and day
Yeah.
of just the way that you function in that and the way that it feels to do the calls, specifically to do calls. It's like it's a light and easy now
Yeah.
versus a heavy, desperate, I got to do everything perfect. None of that happens now. So,
And I think too, it's not that you're not working to make money. Like it's not that you're not
right.
in the business to make money. But I think what I've realized is that I believe, money is a whole nother thing in itself that even God is just working in me, with this whole topic of even money, and my relationship with money. And so I feel like the whole showing up in business from a place of surrender and being
Mm,
is affecting my relationship with money too, because on the one hand, I know that my business is supposed to be profitable. It is supposed to bring in money, but I don't exactly know what that looks like. I don't I don't know. Like I feel like God is trying to teach me some things
mm,
about him as my source.
yeah.
So maybe I am going to gain 3 clients this month, or whatever, but maybe there's not going to be any for the next 3 months. Like I don't, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the business is not successful. I just, I'm having to learn to surrender to what does this look like according to how
Mm,
you see it, because it's so much more than a business and making money. There's so much more to it. Like my relationship with the Lord, I feel like has grown so much through the business,
mm-hmm.
regardless of what the income was looking like at different, like he's just
Yeah.
taught me so many things through this. So surrender to however he wants this to look
Yes.
has even just freed me from
Mm,
like the money part of it.
mm-hmm.
I know it's supposed to make money, and I believe that it is, and I see that, but I surrender to what it looks like and the
Mm,
timing of things,
hmm.
because God's ways are so much higher, and he does things in a way that sometimes I don't understand, but
Yeah.
I know that his plans, that's where I want to go. That's where I want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. There's almost like there's a detachment from the money. And for me, it's been the realization of that's not the most important thing to God. Like it's I almost kind of want to say like it's not even a thought because he's not thinking about money because money is like I always tell people money's like toothpaste, right? It it has benefits, but it's really just kind of a neutral thing. It's a thing that you use. It's meant to flow freely, right? It's not the focus. It's not the like how silly would it sound if I said to you, I am so focused on my toothpaste today. Like, I mean, it's the most important thing. It's right here in front of me. I think about it all the time. It's ridiculous, right? But that's how money should feel to us. It's a resource, it's a tool. It's not the most important thing. And that's not to say that your business isn't going to make money. Like if you're a Christian, oh, God's not worried about you making money. He's not worried about it because he has already said, I've given you the power to
To create
create the wealth.
wealth. That's right.
So you already have what you need. So that's no longer my focus. I've already given you the thing that you need. My
Wow.
focus is you. My focus is you. What's best for you? What is going on that I can use to refine you?
Wow.
So when you start seeing your business through that lens of, or even just taking time, right, to sit and ask God, how do you see my business? What is the primary purpose of my business? Because if you're focused on the money and God's focused on something else, how does that come into alignment? Right? How do you operate your business in partnership with him if you have different focuses?
Wow.
So, why do I want to make money? Digging into that motive. What does that money mean to me? What is it really about? What do I think it means if I have more of it or have less of it? Right? Just digging into that, asking yourself all these questions of like, what's underneath that? Because it's probably not actually about the money.
That's right.
That was my
It's not
experience. It wasn't really about the money.
not really about the money.
Yeah.
But I just think about the motivation behind
Mm-hmm.
the business.
Yeah.
And what if it is because we are concerned about paying our bills? Like, because these are very real things. We need money
Yeah.
to pay our bills. And like it is part of what the resources that we use.
Mm-hmm.
But
But it can
if
come in so many different ways. And I think we limit God to saying, I want the business to make money. And he's asking, well, what if I want to provide money from a different source or different resource, right? What if I want to funnel money to you not through your business? What if there's things you're asking for that instead of giving you the money for it, I just want to give you the thing you're asking for through somebody else? Right? Like so often we think about like raising funds. What if the funds aren't the thing that we need to be asking for? What if we go to God and ask him for this specific need And then I think about, y'all know Rhiannon's been on here with us before. I don't think she would mind me sharing this story, but she was praying. There was a certain coffee maker that she wanted to get. And she was praying about this, having this, coffee maker. And instead of the Lord giving her the money to buy the coffee maker, he just had somebody showed up at her house with this coffee maker. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like, so let's not limit God to I need money to fill in the blank. Just go to whatever that blank is and say, Lord, this is the thing that I think I need, or this is the desire, this is the want, the whatever. And I am open to however you want to fulfill that. And then that totally takes your focus off of the money.
Well, and two, recognizing who is your provider.
Yeah.
Who is the source of provision. And I came to a place where I feel like the rubber meets the road, or, like a realization of, okay, who really is my provider, when I walked away from my job as a teacher and our income got cut in half. And like we had made some arrangements and things to where we were going to be okay. But it was this moment I remember of like, wait a minute, our income is about to get cut in half. And I didn't have any plans of starting a business or like how we were going to, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized like I had to decide, who do I like, is that job, is that provision for our family, or is God our provider? Because he's the one that said I can resign and I can step away from that. So if, like, so where is the provision coming from? Yes, he used the job to provide, but like once the job was no longer there, then I had to decide and choose who is the source of provision. It's the Lord. And, so I think about that too, like who is our source and who is our provider? Because like you said, if it's the Lord, then he can provide however he wants.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard this analogy before of someone who she had prayed to God and said, Lord, I'm hungry. I need money to get food. And the Lord said back to her, what if I want to have somebody bring you groceries instead? Or what if I just make you not hungry? And she was like, wait a minute. Like it would have never crossed my mind to be like, to pray to not be hungry. So just another example, right? Of like, he can answer that prayer in any way. Ultimately, our focus needs to be on him.
Yeah.
Him first, always above everything. And then he's going to meet the need. However, but you've got to be willing to allow the however.
However.
You've got to be willing to allow him to do it however he wants to do it. And not going into, it's not that you don't go into prayer with expectation, but it's that the expectation isn't so specific that you limit him and what he can do. Which is, I feel like, is a whole nother topic, right? That we don't even think of it in terms of limiting God, that we have that ability to limit him. But yeah. So motive, what's the motive? Why are you asking for the money? Why do you want the business to be successful? Because one of the things that I did want to point out, I know we're almost at time and we're trying to keep these short, but I want to speak to this really quickly of the post that I had made. I got a lot of questions about where I had posted, right? Like two people can be doing the exact same thing, but if the motives are different, it's not bringing the same thing into the earth. Um, Actually, I think I'm going to hang on to that one. I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger and come back next time. I think we'll pick that up next time because that needs more explanation, I think. But it goes back to the trees, right? The two trees in the garden, and what tree is your source? Where are you pulling from? And what fruit that brings. So the motive is very, very important.
Yeah, because what you just said, I just want to make sure that people understood, like, and heard. You just said two people can be doing the exact same thing,
Mm-hmm.
but not bringing the same result into the earth because of
Yeah.
motive and where are they sourcing from.
Yeah. Because
Okay,
different trees are going to produce different fruits.
this is true, but this is definitely one that I feel like with even when we have talked about it and
Mm-hmm.
understanding. So yeah, definitely can't continue that today because that's a whole nother um conversation in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I feel like we have, I mean, you tell me, do you feel like we've given people good practical questions to ask to figure out their motives?
Yeah, I think so. And even just touching on the topic of money with motivation, that right
Mm-hmm.
there can cause you to feel some kind of way about,
Yeah.
but take it to the Lord. I would just encourage you, like the feelings
Yes.
that you're feeling, because I have felt some kind of way about money and the Lord's still working on me, but take it to the Lord and ask him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I need to write that down. That's a good one for another time too, because I've asked the Lord what is the purpose of money. So I'll share that with you next time as well. What he told me.
Oh goodness.
Keep you hanging on.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank y'all so much for joining us today. We will be back with you in a couple weeks. I've got Debbie will be on next week. And so we're just going to continue in this rotation every other week doing different things. And y'all let us know in the comments what you want to hear more about and we will talk about it. So
Yeah.
yeah. So blessings.